Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Alesha Dixon, how are you?
How are you? Do you have a jingle for Celebrity Radio?
No, we'd like one. Could you sing one?
Celebrity Radio.
Now, do I owe you £10,000?
You can have that one.
I'll put it behind some music. How are you? I was looking at your thing, and we don't talk about age or weight, but you're 2 years older than me, and I look like your granddad. You look... You look fabulous.
Hilarious. You know what they say about black? It don't crack.
You know what they say about ginger? Rusty roof, damp basement.
Hold on, we're having too much fun. Hold on, this is a serious interview.
How are you doing? It must be great to be you. I've just spent 2 hours looking you up on the train, and you've had such a blessed career. Not necessarily a blessed life, because you've worked incredibly hard. But, I mean, you've made it, really, haven't you? It must be great to be you.
Do you know what? It's so funny. It doesn't matter what I do in life. You know, I still have to sort of remind myself or pinch myself or, you know, how far I've come, because I think I've still got that hustling mentality that I had when I first started out in the industry, where, you know, nothing's guaranteed. And I'm not stupid. I understand that I've got myself into a good position in my career and in my life, and I feel definitely more content and more secure. But there's still that thing in me, that drive that keeps me going, because you know, the entertainment industry is very fickle, as you know, and who can predict the future? But I give thanks for all the amazing things that I've done. But there's still lots of things that I would still like to do.
And what's amazing, you've done this out of some difficult times, let's put it that way. And then we look at as we're sat here today, and so much attention now is on the empowerment of women.
Yeah.
And you're an incredible role model for that, because young women look up to you and they see what you've been through. And here you are today, sat in a posh hotel, one of the biggest stars in the country, and it proves anyone can make it.
I feel like there should be a jingle for that too. Anyone can make it. Sorry.
That's your next record.
I think for me, I've always been quite headstrong, and I've always been very determined and a bit stubborn, and I think that's served me well in my life. I think I always had a plan. Like no matter how old I was, you know, when I was at school, I wanted to be a PE teacher, for example. I had my plan. I always had my something to follow. And I think that's never really changed in my life. You know, I set myself intentions and goals, and I just try to work towards them. And I don't get it right all the time. Sometimes, you know, I fall flat on my face. But what I've learned is that that's okay. What I've learned is that actually the moments where things aren't going your way, that's where the biggest growth takes place in you as a human being. And I think we're here to learn, and I want to continue to learn and continue to become a better version of myself. And one of the reasons that I did want to work with Always is that they do support, you know, confidence in women. And they, you know, the first campaign that I worked on with them was all about succeeding regardless of failure, and that it's okay for people to fail, because actually you've got to use failure as fuel. And I love that whole messaging, and I think that's sort of served me well in my career, in my life, that, yeah, it's okay to fail at things, but you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you just get on with it. And I think you have to be thick-skinned to survive in this industry. And I think another thing that's always worked for me is perspective. And, you know, I've always felt really blessed and really lucky, despite what some people may think may have been tough times for me. I look around the world and I look at what people are going through in their lives, and you realise just how lucky we are to live in the UK.
I'd like to talk to you in your remaining moments about your life and career. I think a real turning point for the mainstream was when you went on Strictly, which was so amazing. And that's when I think you became a role model, because people saw you for who you were. Obviously, prior to that, you'd had a career as a wonderful singer with Mystique and all the dancing and stuff like that. I guess for you, that was a turning point where it reached this huge, great big audience. And then you became a household name, which led you to being here today.
Yeah, Strictly Come Dancing changed my life, for sure. It was a real turning point for me, and it felt like the beginning of something new. I feel like I've lived my life in different chapters, and that was the beginning of a really exciting chapter. And I remember on the night that they announced that Matthew and I had won, and he sort of picked me up in the air and he started spinning me around, and all this glitter fell on me. I just had this overwhelming feeling like everything was going to be okay. And it meant so much more to me than what it was on the surface, which was a glamorous Saturday night TV show. For me, it was life-changing.
I'm again disappointed I have to have this conversation, because I've interviewed women like Dame Shirley Bassey and Petula Clark and even Catherine Jenkins and now you, who are massively successful in your own field. But have you ever felt like you've been disadvantaged because you're not a man in show business? Because it seems to me, for my generation, I don't view you as a woman. I view you as a hugely talented person.
I'm not. Surprise! No. I think, look, as a woman of colour, I have definitely, had times in my career where I've wondered whether I have to work a little bit harder, prove myself a little bit more. You always feel like the odd one out, and you're just, you're there and you're trying to sort of fight for what you want. But I've never allowed it to be an issue for me. And one thing I would never do is try and use it as an excuse. I think I always try to put my best foot forward, and hopefully my capability and ability is what speaks for me. But of course I would be lying if I didn't say that it's not something that I'm mindful of, I'm aware of, but I would never want to be in a position where I'm saying to you, I didn't get that job because I'm a woman of colour. I want to be saying to you, I got that job because I am a woman and I happen to be of colour, and it's like, and because of my ability as an individual, that's so important, and I hope that I can lead by example in that respect. But I think the world is very sensitive at the moment. I think there's a lot going on. It's an exciting time, but a scary time, and it's interesting watching it all, evolve and happen, and we are definitely part of a time now where people are unafraid to stand up and speak out about the things that they're passionate about, and I applaud that. I think it takes real courage and bravery. I think that the world is forever evolving and change. I mean, a friend said to me 20 years ago, the one thing that is guaranteed in life is change. And I think you have to roll with the punches, and you have to roll with the times and keep up with the times. And I think it's our responsibility as human beings to continue to learn, to grow, to become better versions of ourselves. That is what the intention is. That's why we're here.
And you prove every Saturday night when you go live on the telly, whether it be on Strictly or on BGT, that you can stand there and hold your own, and you look like you're having the time of your life. I wonder when it became normal to sit in front of 10 million people on the telly box and make it look like you're sat next to me now. I mean, you're so at ease with it. That's a skill in itself. Yeah,
I think I just try to be myself. I try not to overthink it. I'm very much in the present moment, and I'm not afraid of live TV. I really like live TV. I find it exciting, and I like people. So those two combined, and I think I've been doing it for a long time now. So I think the more you do something, the more comfortable you become. Obviously, the first time is quite scary, but then it's like anything. Once you've walked the walk, you can talk the talk, right?
And again, we spoke earlier about your ambition to help young women and people generally, and it seems like this is the perfect platform through the talent show to again celebrate new talent. And you're always supportive. You don't sort of do that snary put down stuff. Is that intentional?
I think there's a nice way to be honest. What I've learned with the show is to have a sense of humour.
Right.
And I think you can, for me, it's about the connection I make with the individual when they come on the stage. You look into someone's eye and you know if they're a bit sensitive, a bit vulnerable, and you treat them accordingly. You get those that come on the stage and they can have a bit more of a laugh with you, but essentially I never forget what that moment means to that individual person, and I want them to have the best experience that they possibly can have, and I want them to feel good. My intention is for them to succeed. I'm not sitting there willing them to do bad, and so I think it's just about having respect for one another and not taking things too seriously, and just having a light-hearted kind of disposition about the whole thing.
What does it feel like one day when you wake up and you see that there's something sat on your couch called a baby and you've created it and now you're responsible for another life? I guess it changes everything.
Yes, sleep goes out the window and it changes. It's like having a baby changes everything in the most amazing way possible. It's the biggest disruption you ever have in your life, but it's a beautiful disruption. And she is the joy of my life. So she is the biggest blessing of my life.
How many times do you laugh a day at something she does? Because I guess she's very funny from what we've seen.
She's hilarious and consistently makes me laugh. And she's 4. I don't know if you have children, but 4-year-olds come out with the funniest things. And she's no different. She's brilliant. I love it.
And then, of course, moving forward, she's going to be a teenager and encounter all the stuff we've been discussing.
Yes.
Is it an exciting world now for her to come into? I mean, do you look at it with trepidation? Because, again, when we look at your childhood and what you went through, you had such tenacity and bravery, and I guess that's what you're trying to instill in your child.
Yeah, I think no matter who you are and what era you're born in, you're going to have challenges. And I think no matter, how cushioned her upbringing may be, and secure and loving, she will inevitably, as a human being on this planet, come up against challenges. And it's my job as her mum to be there to support her, nurture her. But I hope that she grows up to be a fearless individual and puts no limitations on herself.
And can any standing ovation in a theatre equal the power of a hug from your daughter?
It's up there. It's up there, but there's nothing quite like the hug you get from your child when your child tells you that they love you very much and they give you a kiss, and it's the sweetest feeling ever.
When are we going to see you singing again? I mean, we need a new album. We need you back on tour as an artist.
Well, I am in the studio working on new music, and I've got some great songs. I set up my own record label, and I put out an independent release in 2015. And so I like to have a little bit of a gap between records, but there will be new music out this year.
That's what we need. And a live talk, because under all the stuff we've talked about is this incredible voice. Again, a gift that I presume was just there. You can't be trained that.
It doesn't matter what I do, music will always be my first love. It will always be my passion. And it's so funny you're asking me this, because last night, whilst I was having a conversation with my other half, I actually was saying to him, it's interesting, I love so many things that I do, but it's only when I'm on stage or singing or performing that I feel like I'm really my true self. So when I'm not doing that, I feel like a little part of me is suppressed. And so it will always be something I return to because it feels the most natural.
I've always thought you'd be perfect for a musical, a big one, something like Aladdin or something like that by Disney, where you could shine. Has that ever tempted you, or are you too busy for that sort of stuff?
I've always loved the idea of musical theatre. I have been approached in the past to do some shows, but they weren't quite the right fit. So I'm waiting for that moment when the stars align and I find the perfect role.
I've always wanted to be a giraffe in The Lion King. They've turned me down. I think it's the length of my neck. I don't know why.
But I would love to venture into acting. That's definitely something that I want to try next.
Is there a dream role?
There are many dream roles. I mean, I see myself in a musical type movie or a kick-ass TV show where I get to learn a martial art and be a superhero, maybe. Who knows? You'd
be marvellous at it. And very finally, have you made it now? Do you sit here and go...
No? I made it into London today. I never want to wake up and go, I've made it. As long as there's a mortgage to pay, bills to pay, mouths to feed, ambition and determination within me, I'm never going to wake up and say, I've made it. But for me, success, truthfully, is being able to look in the mirror and like who I am. If you can have all the money in the world, but if you're an arsehole, it's not going to get you very far, is it? So to be comfortable in my own skin and like who I am as a person and have a heart and care about issues or whatever, and have a loving family, that to me is success. The career is a bonus.
Do you know, when I walked in here and looked in that mirror up there, I thought, am I an arsehole? And I thought, I'll sit down anyway. I won't risk it. Alesha Dixon, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely talking to you. If you want to find out more about this huge campaign that we've got to get sorted for young women, we must do it. You can go to the Always website. Yes. And again, we can go to aleshadixon.com to find out all about you. We need you on tour. We need you in a musical and in a play and to do BGT and to back on Strictly. I mean, you could rule the world. Prime Minister.
No.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.